Hello and welcome to the next lesson. Today we're going to be speaking about unhooking from your thoughts. What we need to look at is our thoughts happen throughout the course of the day. There's never a time that we're not thinking about something, but a lot of our responses to those thoughts, they're either helpful, they're either harmful, and the majority of the time they're often automatic. So what we're going to look at is how can we bring awareness to our response to certain thoughts, and how can we detach ourselves from those thoughts which influence our emotions, which then influence certain behaviors that may not be serving us the best way. So pursuing your values is always challenging. If you're interested in doing what matters, you'll need to understand what gets in the way so that you can face those blocks and overcome them. While obstacles can take many forms, they arise from three key sources: our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. So notice the thought of I am not good enough. Notice your emotions. We instantly feel shame, we feel guilt, we feel failure, and then consequently those behaviors can be avoidance, it can be withdrawal, you can use food, you can do exhaustive exercise, you can have any other form of behavior, which then often influences or chases that goal to make you feel good enough. For example, if you do an extreme diet, for example, because it feels good, because you feel like you're doing the right actions to get you the result, you're sort of like just giving yourself that gentle feeling of, oh, well, this feels good. I'm feeling like I'm doing something right. Or maybe you do you punish yourself in the gym because, again, you're just basically confirming the thought of I'm not good enough. I need to suffer. I need to be pain in order to get these results, which I'm looking for. So obstacle one, the role of our mind is to help us survive. It does this by predicting the future, solving problems, and making judgments. When we start to choose our valued directions, our mind can predict disaster or judge our behaviors. Sometimes this is helpful and leads to sometimes this is unhelpful and can lead to unnecessary fears, unnecessary worries, and concerns. Its purpose is to keep us from taking risks and keep it out of potential trouble, and we can learn to work around this. Obstacle two is our emotions. It's those feelings of fear, shame, emptiness, loss, or aloneness are common with choosing to do what matters. When painful emotions get linked with what we care about, we can end up stuck or headed in another direction. This is known as ambivalence. Obstacle three is your behaviors. Behaviors is anything that you can do. Sometimes what we do stands in our way and act self-defeatingly, and other times we just don't know what to do. When we speak about self-sabotage, it's sabotaging yourself, this part of you that wants to achieve weight loss, for example. So how do we go about that? Well, first and foremost, we need to develop willingness. And willingness means accepting everything that happens when we set off in a valued direction. It's a commitment to keep going despite problems and emotions we would rather avoid. Willingness acknowledges that every step down a path matters. It takes effort and requires us to face formidable obstacles. Willingness keeps us going when we'd rather just give up. So asking yourself, am I willing to make room for difficult challenges in order to do what really matters to me? This is a core driver, and this is a fantastic value which I invite some of you guys to consider, because the fact that you've tried so many times to lose weight is a true test to your resilience. And if you think that you're a fixer, if you think you're a survivor, if you consider yourself someone who is on and off, like if you can just start to be willing, if you can embody that responsibility, things dramatically start to change, because that just really shows that you're still taking effort, you're still making the chances. And this is a fantastic resource that I maybe invite you guys to go and watch. It's called Develop Willingness by Jonathan Bricker. It's a TEDx talk. It's 15 minutes, and it just goes into showing the effects that it can have. And coming back to this quote here, Between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. We've spoken a little bit in the past about diffusion. That is one thing which you can use. So again, if you have rules and thoughts and behaviors, we often have sort of certain responses, certain thoughts, certain behaviors which are attached to that. And if we don't have the ability to unhook from that, we are fused to one side, which isn't helpful. On the opposite side, we have diffusion. That's basically unhooking, unattaching from the idea and exploring different behaviors. Again, more on diffusion in a later video. So unhooking. Unhooking from our thoughts means separating ourselves from them, seeing them from what they truly are and allowing them to be as they are. The purpose of unhooking is not to get rid of unwanted thoughts, nor it is to reduce the unpleasant feelings, although these things may happen as a byproduct of unhooking. The purpose of unhooking from thoughts is to enable you to move towards, i.e. act effectively, behave like the type of person that you want to be, and engage fully in life, instead of getting lost, pushed around, or held back by your thoughts. It's all about who do you want to be rather than what do you need to do. We're not trying to dismiss or ignore our thoughts when we unhook from them. We are interested in our thoughts. Our aim is to make good use of whatever is helpful in our thoughts. And if we can pay attention with openness and curiosity, then even the most painful, difficult thoughts will usually have something useful to tell us. Ask yourself the following questions. First and foremost, I want you to bring an idea, a thought, and this is the effective use of journaling, because it's just a great way for you to document how you're thinking. So consider the last time that you had an unhelpful thought, an anxious thought that wasn't helping you. I'm not good enough. This isn't working. I'm always going to be stuck. Whatever you can think of. Pause this video now if you need to maybe just consider something. So, is this thought alerting me to something that's important, something that I need to address? I'm feeling fat, for example, or I'm not good enough. That could just be something that you feel that you need to change. Where's your core values? Where's your self-worth and your self-esteem placed? Is this reminding you of something that requires preparation, planning, or action? Maybe you're overwhelmed, maybe you're studying, maybe you don't have your food plan, your meal plan, your exercise plan in order. Is it reminding you of important values and goals? Maybe you don't feel that you're getting work-life balance. Maybe you're working too much, or maybe you're not losing the weight that you would like, and you want to practice self-care. You want to be healthy and you want to be fit. So is this a gentle reminder for you that this is important? You want to make these changes? Is it reminding you to be more compassionate to yourself and to others? Again, we want to be self-accepting. We want to be aware. We want to be friendly. We want to be positive. So is this just a gentle reminder for you to practice self-compassion? Is it reminding you about a certain behavior or your attitude that you want to adapt? Is it guiding you towards the life that you want? Sometimes being courageous and doing things that we don't feel confident doing is the right next step. And that's where the growth sort of lies, is pushing those challenges and pushing those boundaries even when we don't want to. Is it reminding yourself of how you want to treat yourself or others? Is it reminding you of what you stand for and, of course, stand against in the world? Is it alerting you to some things that maybe you need to do differently? In closing, if there is something useful in the thoughts showing up, let's take that on board and let it guide us into effective, values-guided action. But if there's nothing useful, let's simply acknowledge these thoughts, that they're here, and allow them to come and stay and go in their own time. While we give our energy and attention to what is important, writing down these thoughts is key to understanding them. And how we can do that is these two models. One is the ABCDE model, which is again a very simple journal prompt: activating event, belief about the event, consequences of your actions, dispute the evidence, and effective new belief. We have covered this before, but just follow these. I invite you to pause the video at this time and think back to the last time which you feel you weren't quite doing all the things which you feel you should do or could do, or things didn't quite go to plan, or there was a social event. Pause this video at this time and work your way through these 5 bullet points. Last but not least is unhooking them. Think to yourself, what thought, emotion, or belief did you get attached onto? I should be further on. I should have lost more weight by now. This should be easier than I think it was. How do you act when you believe that thought? How do you act and react, and how do you show up? Who are you when you hold on to that thought and you don't have any form of flexibility in terms of this should be easier, I should be further on, I should be more successful? How do you show up? What do those actions cost you? How do you act when you hold on to that thought? And now think to yourself, who would you be if you didn't believe that thought that weight loss should be easier? Did you manage to unhook yourself? If so, how did you do it? Think to yourself, weight loss isn't easy. Imagine like letting go of that belief and believing sort of the polar opposite. Weight loss isn't easy. Who are you now? How can you then act and behave and show up in the world? In summary, taking a step back from your thoughts and seeing what they are, and all they are is an automatic continuous story of your mind. Sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not. It's important to remember that you have the freedom of choice to stay attached to these thoughts or unhook from them as well. That will be us on unhooking. I hope you found this useful. Simply comment below what was your biggest takeaway from this lesson, and I will see you in the next video.